Hey there, Rick Shew with Left Shew Politics. I've apologized in the past for these sort of shoddy videos on our phone. We will be doing stuff with better production, but we just really haven't gotten around to it yet. We're trying to just get podcasts off the ground. But I did want to share a few thoughts about today's press conference with General Kelly, a man that I might also just say up front that I admire immensely, and that when he speaks, he commands attention, and we should listen to what he has to say and respect it. With that said, we don't always have to agree with it, and he's also in a political position right now, so there's going to be some political spin, and that's just the nature of it. But here's the issue I take with what he said today. He talks very specifically about how he's very upset with the Congresswoman for listening in to the deceased sergeant and his call with his widow. Her call, President Trump's call with his widow, and that's something that's supposed to be sacred, and she should not have been listening in. Well, she's very close to their family, and it's the family's decision whether or not they want her to listen in. And clearly, they did. She was on speakerphone. So for him to get up on at the podium and say that he was disgusted by her doing that, and that it was something that was sacred that she had no business doing, is total bullshit. Now, if you want to make the argument, should she have come out and attacked the president on that? I'm to be honest with you, I'm a little torn on that whole thing. I just am. That's a tough one, and there's an actual legitimate debate to be had of whether or not she should have done that. And so I don't make apologies for that. I don't defend it. I'm kind of up in the air about it. That one's tricky, but she also has every right to say it, particularly if the family is wanting to do that as well. That is the nature of a democracy, right? Every president has to deal with it. I mean, look at some of the stuff Bush had to deal with. I mean, he had a lady camping out in front of his ranch in Texas for a while. I know that. I mean, she was sort of a nuisance to him, but she had every right to do it. And the Bush administration treated her with respect, and we know Obama had to deal with a lot of stuff, including everything that happened in Benghazi and whatnot. So it kind of comes with the territory of being president. But that's another topic for another day. My issue is General Kelly coming out and saying that she had no right. Okay, because let's face it, this whole thing, from the actual ambush in Niger, and when we've lost 4 brave men, we don't know what that's all about. I don't fault the government if we're doing something top secret. I understand, but there does need to be answers to that. I'm not doing what the right did with Benghazi and trying to politicize this. It's a tragedy. Tragedies happen on every president's watch. But we do deserve answers, so let's get those answers. The family certainly deserves those answers, but it's just how Trump has handled everything since then. It goes to the heart of every reason why someone like me didn't want him to get elected. And someone like me, meaning the vast majority of Americans, that didn't want this guy to get elected because he's unfit. He's unfit for this job. He can't even respond appropriately to something like this. He has fueled this thing with the widow and the family and the Congresswoman and Sergeant Johnson's entire death. I mean, everything. He's fueled it. You just take the high road as commander-in-chief and just say, we thank him for our service and we move on. But he can't do that. Everything has to be about revenge. It doesn't matter who it is or what it's about. And, even with the Khan family, that he had to attack them because, you know what? He got attacked by the dad, who has every fucking right to attack him. Every right. They've paid the ultimate sacrifice, but he was able to get away with it because they're a Muslim family. It's also a rant for another day, but I do want to back up a little bit and say one of the things about General Kelly's speech today, or conference today, is that he took a little bit of a jab at Trump with the Khan family. It's in there. He talks about how a Gold Star family should be treated, and something that happened at a convention last year. That's what he's talking about, so kudos to that. But then there's this other part of it, and it's the whole part about how Trump tried to distract and say that he calls all the families. Obama didn't do that. Neither did most other presidents, which is bullshit. All presidents have made an attempt to call most fallen soldiers next to kin. They're not going to call all of them. It's just not how that works. But I don't think that President Carter, Clinton, either Bush, Obama, anybody that has sat in office and held that office doesn't not care about the fallen and their families. I don't believe that about any of those guys, and I don't really even believe that about Trump. I think he cares. You know, I don't think he's just twitching his mustache and laughing. I'm sure when he called that family, he had good intentions. I don't want to get that partisan where I would accuse him of, you know, doing something so awful on purpose, although he has said a lot of awful things. POWs are war heroes, attacking the Khan family. I know more about ISIS than the generals. I mean, he's disrespected the military time and time again. But I don't believe that he's just this evil person that didn't care. But he does like empathy. And maybe calling these families, I don't know, maybe he shouldn't. But anyway, neither here or there. What bothers me is saying that he calls all of them and that the other presidents do not. Which, by the way, has been found to be total bullshit, because the press has found many families that never heard from President Trump that have died on his watch just in the last 9 months. So that's a lie. It's another lie. Secondly, and this is the part that really bothers me, is when he evoked General Kelly's dead son that died in Afghanistan in the line of duty in 2010. And he looked at the press and he said, I don't think Obama called General Kelly's family. You should ask him. That's literally directing the press to go harass his general about his son's death that he's very private about. And I know that pissed him off. There's no way that he was not furious about that. There was a retired general on NBC yesterday talking about they're very good friends, he and General Kelly, and he was saying, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if he quits over this. I mean, truthfully, I wouldn't be surprised. And quite frankly, my prediction is that he probably considered it, and I'm sure he had choice words with the president about it, but maybe he's the one person, he and Mattis, standing between us and nuclear war with North Korea. I mean, honestly. So maybe they have to do what they have to do. I just would have liked to have seen him address that a little bit more, or not a little bit, but forcefully today at the press conference as well about that. Say, I wish the president wouldn't have done that, but it was kind of weak. And that's a very important thing, because that was as low as anything Trump has done. Anything. To invoke that man's dead son to take a cheap shot as his predecessor. And by the way, the norms of like common decency of how a president should treat their predecessor is out the window, because this is not about policy anymore. This is not about Obama talking about a policy that Bush had that he disagreed with 6-7 months into his presidency. This is about like visceral, nasty attacks. Whether it was in front of the Boy Scouts, and now he's using him as a scapegoat with all the stuff with dead soldiers, trying to, you know, his master of distraction. It makes me crazy. Oh God, Trump's just a lowlife, man. All right, but I'm going to bring this full circle. I'm going to end this video. So, to General Kelly, who has served this country honorably, deserves our respect. You're a good man. I'm glad you're there, because you probably really are the one thing keeping us not at war. But that press conference today, shame on you. That family has every right for anyone to listen to that call that they want to. And you should have come out more forcefully publicly about Trump and what he did to you and your son. And you know it. And that's unfortunate.